Hey, Courtney.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Dublin, Ireland.
Wow. What brings you there?
Yeah, just a family vacation before I start off my last year in school. So, yeah.
Great. Well, enjoy it, and thanks for connecting with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, like we mentioned, this is a multi-part series on the faces and stories of those who were fellows for Planned Parenthood
Mhm.
as part of the 2017 Summer of Defiance.
Great. I'm so glad to be a part of this, and I was so glad to be a fellow.
Great. Well, this is welcome to Grasstops. It's a publication of Grassroots Campaigns GCI.
Oh, thank you for welcoming me.
Sure. Why don't you start by telling us who you are and what's your story?
Sure. So, my name is Courtney Szigetvari. I am a current MSW student at Columbia University. I'm actually located out of Austin, so I'm doing their online MSW program. I'm in my last year there. I have been involved in advocacy work since I was really young. I would say my parents always talked to me about politics and policy, and I started within this particular field around the age of 16 when I would go to concerts and talk to people around my age as well as those who are older about sex education. So I've been involved in this sort of advocacy work for quite some time. And what really drove me to do this work is that I stand with Planned Parenthood. I've been a patient of Planned Parenthood before. And I think that continuing on their services, especially within the Texas area, is super important to me as well as my neighbors and fellow community members. So that's what really brought me to the fellowship program. I'm also I'm involved in local politics. I belong to a couple of different clubs, progressive based organizations. So yeah, this is just a continuation of that work, or was a continuation of that work.
Tell me more about the connection between you and your parents, the relationship there with respects to advocacy.
Sure. So my father was actually a refugee. I'm also the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors. So I was always taught from a young age to really stand up and speak out for what I believe is right or correct. And they brought me up within a progressive household. I always saw equity amongst my parents. With my father and my mother. They really uh, uh, gave each other respect. And through that, that kind of built up my confidence and got me to go out and do these things. I remember they brought me to meet Bill Clinton at a diner when I was about 6 or 7, I believe. So, brought up in a household that was just, I was very aware of what was going on in the political world, as well as what happened in my family's history and the history of the world. So, I just want to continue that legacy by through the work that I do with Grassroots.
Great. What was it like to meet Bill Clinton when you were younger?
I recall it was just for a few minutes. He kind of shook a couple of hands as he went by, and Hillary Clinton actually spoke at our synagogue as well. So I was able to meet both of the Clintons, and I remember Bill. I remember there being a bee there, so I was afraid of the bee because I have a fear of bees. But he seemed very kind and I knew that my parents were Clinton supporters as well, so that kind of added to my experience as a child. And then when Hillary Clinton spoke at our synagogue, she was our senator at the time, so that was really cool to see as well. So I've always been exposed to, politics in a variety of different ways.
MSW at Columbia University is a master's in social work?
Yes, it is.
Okay, just wanted to say that for others that are viewing and may not know that. So, was there one moment when you were young that shaped you to be more advocacy oriented, more mission driven?
I would say, with like kind of growing up again in that environment, and really hearing the story about how my father was a refugee. And then also, my father unfortunately passed away when I was 13, and he was really my best friend. And something that kind of turned me into an advocate was I was in the hospital all the time with him. So I really had to kind of learn how to speak up, even though I was a little bit shyer then. So that kind of turned me into the advocate I am today, because I feel like I have the ability to use my voice. Unfortunately, I had to go through some situations with it, but that I think really allowed me to, utilize my voice, and I had to advocate not only for myself but for my father as well.
In the hospital?
Yes. I sometimes would be the only person there with him, so I would have to say, oh, he needs this, and go get a nurse. Or sometimes when we were at our house together, I would have to help him get certain things. So I was always a people person in that way, and through empathetic like reasoning, I was able to connect with him and with others, both through like macro work, so like policy level work now, like what we do with the fellowship, as well as on an individual level. So
what in your life inspired you to pursue being a Planned Parenthood Fellow this summer?
Yeah, so I think that just a lot. I was raised as a feminist. So as a feminist-oriented organization, Planned Parenthood really attracted me. I also have been advocating for Planned Parenthood for a while now. I was actually a volunteer with them for a little bit before I began my fellowship, and I'm going to continue doing volunteerism with them. And I really connect with their cause. I've had to utilize certain services that Planned Parenthood provides to the community myself. So that really drove me, because not only do I have a personal story, but I also know that my neighbors and friends and family and community members also utilize Planned Parenthood. It was actually my mother's first gynecologist, or her first gynecological visit was done through Planned Parenthood. So I guess there's legacy in that area of my life as well.
Great. So, how did you feel when you were accepted as a Planned Parenthood Fellow?
I was so incredibly happy. I was very excited that I would be able to do something incredibly constructive this summer and able to give back to my community in this way. Because I've become very involved in the Austin community over the past year since I moved there, I was excited that I would also be working with some of my friends within the policy field, as well as within activism. So the fellowship allowed me to combine all of my favorite interests into one, and I was able to have a job out of it too, which was super cool. So I was just incredibly excited, and the work I did was awesome. So I had a great experience.
So for some of us who would be watching this interview you and I are having right now for the first time, and may not know what the Summer of Defiance is, why don't you tell us, what is the Summer of Defiance, and why it's important? Why should we all care about the Summer of Defiance and what was done this past summer, 2017, where you were, which was in Texas, right?
Yes, yes. So the Summer of Defiance really encompassed everything that Planned Parenthood has been standing for forever, as well as specifically this summer we were looking at the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. And something that we did was reach out to our legislature and tell them that we want the ACA to continue going on, to continue giving us care, that we want to see an expansion of healthcare, not the demolishing of the system that we already have in place. And we were able to reach out to our legislators through phone calls. We called them, as well as other Texas constituents. We had a letter writing campaign. We formed coalition partnerships in the community to show that we had support. And it turns out that on a federal level, they really heard us because we had the Summer of Defiance program in several other states as well, that they really heard us, and they haven't repealed Obamacare yet, thankfully. So hopefully it stays that way, and we see more of an expansion of healthcare as opposed to, again, that demolishing of healthcare for 22 million Americans that would lose their health insurance. And that was actually another driving factor behind me taking the fellowship, is that due to pre-existing conditions that I have, I would actually be one of those 22 to 24 million Americans that would have lost health insurance. So this campaign personally affected me, and I found it to be really great in that we expanded upon the already prestigious Planned Parenthood name within the Austin area. We went to several marches. We went to rallies. We were able to hold a town hall where we had over 100 people come out and support us. We had a Texas state legislative representative there, Gina Hinojosa. So I believe that this campaign was incredibly successful, and we were able to build upon the wonderful work that Planned Parenthood has already been doing in Texas.
So what did you do specifically? Like, what were you in charge of as a Planned Parenthood Fellow?
So I was actually one of the lead organizing fellows. So I was personally the coalition builder, along with my coworker Smriti. What we did was we built coalition partnerships with 50 other organizations, over 50 other organizations, as well as businesses, particularly small businesses in the area, although we got some medium-sized and some large-sized businesses too, who offered their support to Planned Parenthood, who donated goods as well as volunteer time to Planned Parenthood, and specifically the Summer of Defiance program. And I also I delegated tasks, as well as had individual meetings with three other of the other fellows. So they were my fellow fellows, and I was able to work closely with them and really help them with anything that they may need, so I could lead them in the right direction, lead the campaign in the right direction.
Was there anything specific that you did that others may not have done?
Well, with the coalition building, I had some connections in the community already, so I was really able to harness those with the organizations or the organizational leaders, or Grasstops, as we were calling them. I was able to harness that within our coalition building and form partnerships pretty easily. Kind of call up a couple of my buddies and say, hey, like, how would you feel about, signing on to Planned Parenthood? And of course, because again, Planned Parenthood has that prestigious name, they were like, oh, of course. So I really took care of the organization side of coalition building, and Smriti did an awesome job with the business side of building coalition partnerships. So that was really unique to me. And then also being able to help with the letters to the editor that we did, as well as building our volunteer base with two of the other fellows. So really leading them into the right direction. That was also unique to me as well.
Great. Did you give any presentations to any legislative bodies while you were there in Texas?
Yes. So that was also a unique thing I did too. Thank you for reminding me. Actually, I actually gave testimony on behalf of myself as a private individual and Planned Parenthood Summer of Defiance in front of the Health and Human Services Council for the Texas State Legislature, and I gave testimony for 2 minutes on why there was actually this awful bill that was on the table that basically stated that on a municipal level that no city would be able to partner with Planned Parenthood or give any sort of funding to Planned Parenthood. So not only did they defund it on a state level, but they're also trying to do it on a city wide level. And thankfully that did fail, but it did go through that Senate-based commission at first. So I spoke in front of about 10 Texas state senators, and I gave my testimony. I gave a little bit of a personal story there as well, and they heard me out. Of course, unfortunately, with the state of politics in Texas and with how conservative our Senate is, they did vote to bring it to the floor, but thankfully it did fail on the floor. So I'm glad that they at least heard my testimony, and maybe I, spark some ideas or turn on some of those internal light bulbs. So
was that your first time testifying?
I'm sorry?
Was that your first time testifying before the state Senate?
It was, yes. And I remember being nervous, but once I got up there, I just kind of got into the mode and gave my speech. And I also was motivated by the fact that our Austin based senator, Kirk Watson, was there. And he's a personal hero of mine, and he stands with Planned Parenthood and supports us. So I was just like, all right, Kirk Watson's there. I can do this. So.
And who was he? You cut out. What's his title?
Mm-hmm. So Kirk Watson is a state senator here in Texas, and he is based in the Austin area.
Great. So do you remember actually walking into the room and how you felt, and like you said, you felt nervous? Kind of paint the picture. How was it walking in there, and how did you feel?
Sure. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect. So I remember going there being pretty nervous. I was wearing long sleeves at the time, so it was very hot as well. And it actually took a while for me to testify. They had to go through like a whole hearing at first and debate over the bill, and then they went to testimony. And because my last name is spelled S-Z, it starts off with an S and a Z, that turned into me having to wait for quite some time because they went through basically the whole alphabet before they got to my name. So I went through periods of being more nervous than others, but by the time I got up there, I was like, all right, I got this. And I felt more confident once I got up there, and I got some compliments on my testimony, so that was nice to hear. And I just hope that it was at least a little bit effective, even with our super conservative state legislature, and specifically the Senate. So you
said that you shared your personal story. What was that? What did you say?
Sure. So I actually, one of the reasons why I was very concerned with losing Obamacare is because I purchased my health insurance through the marketplace, and I have ovarian cysts. And I grow them quite large, and there's a possibility that I would have been kicked off of healthcare, and I shared my story as to how I know that if I ever had an emergency, that I could always rely on Planned Parenthood to provide services for me. I actually had to call them the other day because my the OBGYN that I normally see didn't have any appointments, so I had to utilize Planned Parenthood services for this just the other day. And if Planned Parenthood was defunded at a city level, I might have had to wait quite some time to get services or get even someone to talk to on the phone. So, I really spoke about how having a pre-existing health condition and the possibly losing my health insurance, but knowing that Planned Parenthood would always be there for me whether or not I had health insurance was vital, not only to myself, but the community at large and anyone else that might deal with a pre-existing condition such as cystic growths.
So you've said multiple times that Texas is conservative, especially when you refer to the state senate. What should people know about what's happening in Texas? Like, why is it important what's happening in Texas with respects to Planned Parenthood?
Sure. So I think that one of the most interesting things before I go directly into Texas to talk about is that a lot of Trump supporters, people who voted for our president in the general election, actually do stand with Planned Parenthood. So I think that there's a lot of miseducation in the state about Planned Parenthood, and that's why our program was so vital, because we were able to get out in the streets and really talk to local constituents about the services that Planned Parenthood provides, and why they're so important to the community, and even direct some people to Planned Parenthood centers, because they're like, oh, I didn't know that. So I think that there's a lot of misinformation going around, not only Texas, but our country as a whole. I think that also, in Texas, there has been several bills on the table whenever the legislature convenes that would limit the amount of money that would go to Planned Parenthood. And again, because Planned Parenthood provides such vital services to the community, these bills are very, very, very dangerous, not only to people who work for Planned Parenthood, but truly to the community as a whole. And then, of course, people of any gender, any race, any ethnicity, any and any age, they all go to Planned Parenthood for these services. So we see a lot of dangerous bills go on the table and a lot of misinformation go around, and that's really what our campaign was focused on at both a federal as well as state level, is just informing people and making sure that people get the health care they need or retain the health care that they need.
So you say that you've lived a life of advocacy and activism, and that your parents and their stories have shaped you, have taught you. So how does this summer experience with Planned Parenthood in 2017, how has it shaped you? How has it fit in to your life of advocacy and activism?
Yeah, so something that we learn in social work school is to kind of really make it about, I guess, the other person that's in the room or the other people that are in the room. And I was able to kind of utilize that within my work with Planned Parenthood and really work on that and also incorporate my own voice into the story as well. So my work with Planned Parenthood boosted my self-esteem further. It allowed me to not only really boost other voices in the community, but boost my voice as well, and other people who might be experiencing similar issues or have similar stories to me. So in that way, I think I'll be able to take the things that I learned this summer really back into the community as I finish up my degree. And once I'm a licensed social worker, I plan on doing some macro work or doing that policy level work and taking those things that I learned, how to coalition build properly and well, how to assert myself in situations, even if they may seem uncomfortable or unknown to me, like going into the Senate chambers and talking in front of a bunch of senators and me just being there by myself and having to be very assertive. I think that it really boosted those things for me, and that's something that I'm going to take into my work in the future, and I look forward to doing so.
So it had personal and professional significance for you.
Absolutely.
So how do you feel personally about everything that was achieved?
I feel really great about it. I think we took a look at our numbers, what we wanted to achieve versus what we did achieve, and we exceeded those goals at every level. So I think that not only on a quantitative level did we succeed wholly, which I think that we did, but also on a qualitative or substantial level as well. And not that numbers are not substantial, but like on a very tangible, personal level, we also succeeded as well. We were able to get a personal story from, because we were doing that letter writing campaign. So we got a personal story from Wendy Davis, who is that famous Texas state senator who filibustered during, I believe it was a 2013 special session when there was an omnibus anti-abortion basically a bunch of bills on the table. So we got a personal story from her. We were able to get a Texas state representative out to speak at our town hall, somebody that I admire greatly, which was Representative Hinojosa. And then we also, within the organization and within the group of 10 fellows, we also were able to make connections with the community and other advocates in the community, those being the other fellows, and we made friends with each other, and that was really great too. So again, like you said, on a personal and professional level, I really I think that we really had a lot of great achievements that we were able to gain this summer.
So what are your hopes and aspirations going forward? I would say for you and for Planned Parenthood.
Sure. So for me, I kind of have to see. I just got word that I have this opportunity to be a Travis County Democratic Party precinct chair, so I'm really excited about that. I would love to continue to be involved in politics, political campaigns, as well as like social policy advocacy. So
how did that come about? The Travis County precinct chair position, and what does that mean?
Yeah, so basically a precinct chair is the lowest level of elected official in our local community, in the Austin community, or in Travis County in general, which incorporates over 20 other towns as well as Austin. So basically, I'll be kind of stirring up support for the Democratic Party within my local community. I'll be promoting voting by doing voting drives. I'm actually a licensed VDR, which is a voter deputy registrar. So I'm able to register people to vote in the local Travis County area. And yeah, just kind of continuing fighting the good fight in that way.
And this happened after the Summer of Defiance, or as a result of it, or?
Yeah, I would say as a result of it. I actually, one of our coalition partners was the Travis County Democratic Party, and not only was I able to build that connection for Planned Parenthood, I know that they had a couple of connections to them through Texas Votes, but we also were able to do it for our Summer of Defiance program, or build that connection, which was wonderful. And so it only strengthened their relationship with Planned Parenthood even more. But I spoke with the executive director there, and I asked her if there was or any other opportunities for after I complete this fellowship with the Democratic Party. She said yes. So I just got the email a couple of days ago that they invited me to do this, which felt really great. I also, I want to see where I end up after I complete my degree. So I'll be in the job market soon, in the real world outside of school. Not that school or academia isn't the real world, but you know, it's a different vibe. And I am also I'm also on the operating committee of a local progressive organization that grew out of the Bernie movement called Left Up to Us. So I'm their minutes taker, so I'll be doing that as well. And as far as Planned Parenthood goes, I would just love to see them, you know, continue to be celebrated by all across the nation, and specifically in Texas, both through their sex education, STI treatment and prevention programs, and even with any sort of medical care, which includes breast cancer exams, ovarian cancer exams, basically anything that would affect one's reproductive health, as well as abortion care. So that's something that I would like to see really get back on track in Texas. I would like to see them to be funded again by Texas as a whole, and I would like to just continue seeing the growth of Planned Parenthood within Texas, because I know that a lot of places have had to close down. Basically, anyone that provided abortion care or any sort of information on abortion, a lot of places have had to shut down due to really unnecessary regulations in Texas. So I would like to see that rolled back, and I would like to see these places flourish, and specifically Planned Parenthood, so people can get the care that they need on any sort of level and for any sort of health necessity they may have.
Great. Well, listen, I am very, I feel very assured that by the fact that you are continuing to remain active and living to keeping true to the principles and stories of your parents, and your family culture of remaining active and advocating for what's right in society. So thank you for that, Courtney, and thank you for connecting with us today while you're in Ireland, in Dublin, Ireland, on a family vacation.
Sure, this opportunity was one that I did not want to pass up at all, and I don't mind taking a couple of minutes out of my vacation to talk to you and to share my story, because I think that it's super important to continue fighting the fight for Planned Parenthood. So thank you
Great.
so much for this opportunity.
Sure. Is there anything you'd like to say? Anything else? Maybe a message to your fellows from the summer?
Sure, just hey, I miss you all. Let's get together and watch some Game of Thrones, and
There you go.
let's also continue on with volunteering or working for or doing anything for Planned Parenthood or grassroots campaigns in any sort of capacity, because this issue didn't stop at the end of our fellowship, which ended at the beginning of August. It's going to keep on going on and on and on, and they're going to need our help. So let's continue doing that together and continue making the world a better place.
Great, Courtney. Well, I'm glad you remain motivated and enthusiastic, and good luck with not only your master's degree but also your Travis County position. And have a wonderful vacation.
Thank you so much, John. It was great talking to you, great meeting you virtually, and maybe we'll meet in person one day.
I hope
I
so.
hope you have a wonderful day.
I hope so. Thank you for your leadership and dedication.
Thank you for your leadership and dedication. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Courtney. Take care. Keep in touch.
Keep in touch. Yep, you too. Bye.
Bye.